number one mistake I see people make when buying a thoroughbred is not having a good team around them. With me today, I've got Dr. Yates. She's our vet. She's also an FEI vet. She travels around Florida and around the country, acting as a vet both for private individuals and for different organizations. And we're going to ask her a few questions today. My first question, Dr. Yates, is what is your particular specialty or interest in the horse world?
So my practice is primarily limited to sports medicine, and I try to make sports medicine about the entire horse. So whether that's nutrition, whether that's musculoskeletal lameness, whether that's saddle fit, that's what I've limited my practice to.
And as part of your veterinary practice, I assume you're doing a lot of vettings?
Yes, that's a huge part of my practice.
Could you guess how many vettings you do a year?
100 to 200 maybe.
And out of those 100 to 200, how many would you say are off-the-track thoroughbreds?
I would say fewer in Florida, but in the Midwest, I would say that was the majority of my vettings.
And what do you think is a common mistake people make when they're buying an off-the-track thoroughbred?
Well, I think we can split that into two categories. The first one would be, are you actually going to the track to buy the horse? Because that's a whole separate set of logistics versus are you getting the horse from a rehoming organization, and maybe some of that has already been done. But if someone's going straight to the track, then that horse is coming straight from racing. You know, it may not know how to lunge at that point. There may be time constraints and time pressures. So
what would be the pros and cons of getting a horse straight off the track versus going to a place where it's already, you know, a nonprofit that's already had it or a person that's already had it for a few months?
So a pro for a lot of people is that the cost tends to be more attractive.
Yeah.
So that horse hasn't been restarted. It hasn't started its second career yet.
And the cost that we're talking about, that's
to the buyer.
But we're talking often under $1,000, would you say?
Probably. I think it's definitely increased over the last couple of years, but traditionally it was more under $1,000.
Yeah. And then right away, when the horse now has been kind of restarted already, even just for a few months, the price is going to go up.
Absolutely.
But with that price going up, there's less risk.
There's less risk. And one of the reasons for that is you know what the horse's work ethic is going to be going into the second career. You know how the horse's body is going to handle going into the second career. We worry a lot about backs in thoroughbreds. They can have some back pain that we know there is a genetic component now. Yeah. And so if a horse has already been restarted into its second career, you know how their back is going to hold up better than if you're going straight to the track.
And when you say there's a genetic component, are you able to, or do you know the bloodlines well enough to just know that certain bloodlines are going to have more back problems, for example, in the thoroughbred world?
I don't think that, if we do know that, I don't think that's been made public at this point. I do think that the current thoroughbred breeding pool is more narrow than it has been traditionally. So we do see it a lot more widespread than maybe 20, 30 years ago.
And what other things that would you see problems that thoroughbreds might have? Like, what are you trying to stay ahead of here?
So 3 main things that we're trying to stay ahead of would be their stomach. Yeah. So if the horse comes into your care, I always recommend a gastroscopy because we want to see what stomach looks like.
And when we talk about that, that's not something we're going to do as part of the vetting. That's something that we're going to do after we've purchased the horse.
Yes.
So let's back up. As part of the vetting, what are the main things we're looking for?
So main things we're looking for are the horse's feet and then any musculoskeletal injuries or lack thereof that the horse has had in its career, mainly front fetlocks and knees. Or carpus. And
this is something that you're seeing when you jog the horse up, or you're recommending x-rays for people as well?
Definitely at least basic x-rays of the front fetlocks and the knees. And I always like to throw in some back x-rays. Yeah. The caveat with back x-rays is that it doesn't always predict if the horse is going to have clinical back pain, but I always think it's nice to have an idea.
So, you know, people can start to x-ray all the different parts of the horse's body. What would you say would be sort of the minimum? And then what would you say would be sort of an average? And if somebody was going to go crazy on a big budget, you know, how far would somebody go potentially with x-rays?
So for me, a minimum would be at least 4 views of the feet. Yeah. And then 2 views of each front fetlock, 2 views of each knee would be for me the minimum.
Okay. And then what would be sort of a more average or one step up from that?
Then I think you could add in hind fetlocks and then hocks, maybe stifles.
And have you ever had somebody that's just gone like, there's no budget on this and let's just x-ray everything? Like, what's the most you've ever done?
I mean, I think we can get up into the 60-ish views now, if you include all the neck, all the back.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Yates. And in our next video, we're going to be talking about the differences between purchasing a horse off the track or buying a horse from a rehoming organization.